the craving no one talks about. It started with a text, a simple, "Hey, thinking about you." And just like that, you were hooked again. Maybe it's the late night scrolling through old messages, the way your heart races when their name lights up your screen, or that ache in your chest when they go silent. You know it's not healthy. You know it's messing with your peace. But somehow, you keep going back. If this feels familiar, you're not alone. Love addiction, this intense obsessive craving for another person, can feel just as powerful as a drug. In fact, neuroscientists say it lights up the same parts of the brain as cocaine. And when things go wrong, the withdrawal is real, the anxiety, the emptiness, the shame. It's not just having a crush or being needy. It's a cycle of attachment, fantasy, and loss that keeps repeating. Desire, especially sexual desire, isn't the problem. It's natural. But when desire becomes something we chase to numb pain, escape loneliness, or fill a void, it becomes something else, something that uses us instead of us using it. This isn't just a relationship issue. It's a human one. So the question is, how do we break free? What if the answer isn't in cutting people off cold turkey or distracting yourself with another fling? What if it's not about judging yourself or suppressing your feelings? What if healing begins by turning inward? That's where mindfulness comes in. And not just the trendy kind of mindfulness you see on Instagram. I'm talking about the real, raw practice rooted in ancient wisdom and refined by masters like Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. A kind of awareness that helps you understand your cravings instead of being controlled by them. A presence so grounded, it makes space for all your messy, beautiful emotions without needing to escape. In the US, renowned mindfulness teachers like Jack Kornfield, Tara Brach, and Sharon Salzberg have brought these teachings into therapy rooms, recovery centers, and everyday homes. They're not promising a magic fix, but a path, one that's honest and possible. Let me be clear. This isn't about becoming a monk or giving up on love. It's about finding a way to love yourself and others without losing yourself in the process. So many of us are addicted to love because we've never learned to sit with ourselves. We've never been taught how to face our inner loneliness, our unmet needs, our early wounds. We reach outward, hoping someone else will complete us. But as Thich Nhat Hanh says, you must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. That starts with your own freedom. It might sound abstract, but what if I told you that 5 minutes of breathing in silence can start to change your brain? That learning to name your craving, not judge it, can actually loosen its grip? That noticing your thoughts without acting on them is a superpower? Mindfulness teaches you to sit with discomfort without running, to feel the pull of desire without being dragged by it, to witness the rush of romantic fantasy without confusing it for truth. You learn to pause, and in that pause, everything shifts. You're not pushing love away. You're learning to meet it with clarity, with wholeness, with compassion, for yourself first and then others. The good news, you don't need to escape to a mountain in Nepal. You can start right here, in your apartment, in your car, in the chaos of everyday life. In the next parts of this series, we'll explore what neuroscience says about love addiction and the mindfulness cure. Real stories of people who've used meditation to heal obsessive relationships. Simple, powerful practices you can start today. How Buddhist philosophy and Western psychology are working together to transform desire into awakening. But for now, let's begin with this truth. You are not broken. Your cravings are not evil, and you have everything you need right now to begin healing. Why we get hooked, and how mindfulness begins to untangle the knot. You meet someone, your heart races, your palms sweat, they smile, and suddenly the world feels right again. You're alive, electric, full of hope, but underneath that rush, there's often something deeper, something quieter, a hunger that's been there long before this person showed up. Maybe it started when you were a kid. Maybe you didn't feel seen, or safe, or enough. Maybe no one taught you how to hold your own emotions, so now you look for someone else to hold them for you. This is how love addiction begins. Not with romance, but with longing. A longing to be complete, to be rescued, to be validated. And our culture doesn't help. It feeds us movies where love fixes everything. Songs where obsession is confused with devotion. Stories where suffering for love is seen as noble, even sexy. No wonder we chase it. No wonder we crave the high. But here's the truth. The brain treats emotional highs the same way it treats drugs. Dopamine floods the system and then it crashes. You go from floating to falling, from euphoric to empty. And what do? You go back for more. The cycle repeats. And every time, the crash gets harder. This is where mindfulness enters. Not as a rule book or a punishment, but as a flashlight. A way to see clearly what's happening inside you. Thich Nhat Hanh taught that awareness is the first step to transformation. He said, when a craving arises, don't fight it, don't feed it, just recognize it. Breathing in, I know this is desire. Breathing out, I smile to it. This sounds simple, but it's radical. It interrupts the automatic pattern, the texting, the stalking, the fantasizing, the begging, the spiraling. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of escaping, you stay. And in that space, between the craving and the action, is where freedom begins. Jack Kornfield often tells his students, you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness that notices them. This is not spiritual fluff. It's neuroscience. When you activate the part of your brain that observes the craving, you weaken the part that wants to act on it. Over time, your brain rewires. The triggers lose their power. The obsession begins to soften. You stop needing the other person to feel whole. You begin to feel okay just being with yourself, even if it's a little lonely at first. But let's be honest, this is not a quick fix. Mindfulness is not about numbing or distracting. It asks you to feel everything, the ache, the fear, the confusion, the emptiness. But here's the miracle. When you allow yourself to feel, without judgment, the emotion passes. It doesn't stay forever. It moves like a wave. And with each wave you ride, you become stronger, more stable, more rooted. Tara Brach calls this radical acceptance. It means saying yes to your experience, not because it's fun, but because it's real. Because denying it only feeds the addiction. So how do you start? Start small, 5 minutes a day. Sit quietly, breathe, notice what comes up. When you feel the urge to reach out to them, pause, place your hand on your heart, say, this is hard and I'm okay. Write down your thoughts, uncensored. Look at them like clouds passing. Not truths, not commands, just thoughts. Move your body, let the craving flow out through movement. Walk, dance, shake, cry, meditate on loving kindness. Send compassion to yourself, to the part of you that feels desperate or ashamed. May I be safe. May I be free. May I be enough. And most of all, be patient. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll slip. That's okay. Each moment is a chance to begin again. Thich Nhat Hanh said, the present moment is full of joy, and if you are attentive, you will see it. Even in heartbreak, even in craving, there is something to discover, some part of yourself waiting to be reclaimed. You are not too much. You are not too broken. You are not alone. Mindfulness won't erase your longing, but it will teach you how to hold it gently, to understand it, to learn from it, and eventually to let it go. Because real love doesn't imprison, it liberates. And that liberation begins inside you. Brain on love, and what mindfulness does to rewire it. It starts with a rush. You see their name on your screen, and boom, your brain lights up. Your heart starts pounding. You feel alive, excited, even euphoric. That's not just chemistry. That is chemistry, literally. When you're infatuated or obsessing over someone, your brain floods with dopamine, the same chemical released when you use cocaine. Add a little oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and some adrenaline, and you've got yourself a full-blown neurological cocktail. It feels amazing. But like any drug-induced high, it doesn't last. Your brain starts craving more attention, more validation, more hits of that feeling. And when you don't get it, your system crashes. Anxiety, restlessness, sleepless nights. The same brain areas activated by drug withdrawal light up when people experience heartbreak or emotional rejection. You're not just being dramatic, you're going through withdrawal, and your brain wants relief. This is where most of us get stuck. We chase the high again. We text. We check their profile. We replay old conversations. We bargain, beg, blame. We try anything to feel better. But what if instead of chasing or suppressing, you learn to observe? That's what mindfulness does. It teaches your brain to pause, to breathe, to witness the craving without obeying it. And this isn't just a feel-good idea. It's proven neuroscience. Studies show that regular mindfulness practice rewires the brain. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for awareness, decision-making, and self-regulation, gets stronger. The amygdala, the part responsible for fear, impulse, and emotional reactivity, gets quieter. In other words, mindfulness strengthens your inner parent and softens your inner addict. That space between impulse and action, that's where freedom lives. Thich Nhat Hanh described this beautifully. He said, "Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor." You don't have to fight the craving. You just have to feel it without feeding it. Jack Kornfield puts it simply, the moment you become mindful of your experience, you have already begun to transform it. Let's break that down. Say you're having a craving, strong, overwhelming, real. Instead of acting on it, you sit, you breathe, you notice. What does it feel like in your body? Is it a tightness in your chest, a flutter in your stomach, a heat in your face? Label it, observe it. Not I am anxious, but I feel anxiety. Not I am desperate, but desperation is present. This tiny shift changes everything. You're no longer inside the craving. You're watching it. You've stepped into awareness. And awareness is where healing begins. In one study, people recovering from addiction were trained in mindfulness meditation. After 8 weeks, they had fewer relapses, lower stress, and a stronger sense of control. Another study showed that people going through romantic rejection had less emotional pain and obsessive thinking after practicing mindfulness for just 2 weeks. This isn't magic. This is training. And your brain, like a muscle, gets stronger every time you practice. Tara Brach teaches something called the RAIN technique. It's a practical way to deal with intense emotions like craving. R, recognize what is happening. A, allow it to be there, just as it is. I investigate it with kindness. N, nurture yourself with compassion. Let's say you feel the urge to text your ex. You pause. You say, this is longing. I recognize it. You allow it. It's okay that I feel this. You investigate. Where is this coming from? What do I really need right now? Then you nurture. I'm here for myself. I'm safe. I'm enough. And just like that, you've interrupted the old neural loop. You didn't repress the feeling. You rewired your response. It's slow. It's subtle, but it's powerful. And with time, you begin to see the craving for what it really is. Not a sign that you need someone else, but a signal pointing you back to yourself. What if the love you're seeking isn't out there? What if it's been waiting within you all along? Thich Nhat Hanh said, "To be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to accept yourself." Mindfulness isn't about becoming detached or cold. It's about becoming clear. Clear enough to see your patterns, strong enough to hold your pain, loving enough to give yourself what you've been begging others for. Practical mindfulness exercises to break the cycle of obsession. You're in it again, heart pounding, mind racing. Your hand hovers over your phone. You know it won't help. You know reaching out will only pull you deeper. But the craving is loud, so loud it feels like it's running your life. This is the moment mindfulness was made for. Not the calm, peaceful moments, but this, right here, in the middle of the storm. Thich Nhat Hanh said, when we suffer, there is a tendency to run away from the suffering. But mindfulness teaches us to come back and take care of it, like a mother holding her crying child. So how do you begin? You start by stopping. Just for a few seconds, you bring your attention to the breath. You interrupt the autopilot reaction. That one breath, is everything. It's the first step back to yourself. Here are 3 foundational mindfulness practices to help you work with obsessive desire and emotional craving. No fluff, no rituals, just simple tools you can use anywhere. The mindful pause. This is your emergency brake. When the urge to reach out hits you, when your mind is spiraling with what ifs, when your body feels hijacked by longing, pause. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice the breath as it moves in and out. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Where is it in my body? Can I stay with it for just 10 seconds? Not to fix it, not to judge it, just to hold it. That pause is powerful. You are training your brain to respond instead of react. Name it to tame it. This technique comes from neuroscience and is deeply aligned with Buddhist teachings. When you name your emotion, it begins to lose its grip. Say out loud or in your mind, this is sadness. This is longing. This is fear. This is love addiction. Labeling the experience activates your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that helps regulate emotions. The simple act of naming moves you from drowning in the feeling to observing it from the shore. As Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, hello, my little suffering. I see you. I will take care of you. Loving kindness for the wounded self. Love addiction often comes from a deep wound. A place inside that feels unloved, unwanted, unseen. Mindfulness doesn't ignore this wound. It embraces it, gently, patiently. Here's a short practice you can do anytime. Sit quietly, place your hand on your heart, breathe. Say to yourself, may I be safe, may I be free, may I be whole, may I be enough just as I am. Picture the part of you that's hurting. Maybe it's a younger version of yourself. Offer these words to that part, over and over, until something softens, even just a little. Tara Brach reminds us, self-compassion is not a luxury. It is a necessity for healing. These practices may seem small, but done consistently, they are life-changing. They interrupt the obsession loop. They calm the nervous system. They return you to your body, your breath, your power. And you don't need to be perfect. Some days you'll remember, some days you'll forget. That's okay. The point isn't to get rid of desire. The point is to meet it with wisdom, to hold it with kindness, to stop letting it run your life. Over time, what once felt like a tidal wave will feel more like a passing cloud. You'll learn to sit with the emptiness, to feel the craving, and not let it define you. Thich Nhat Hanh said, the seed of suffering in you may be strong, but don't wait until you have no more suffering before allowing yourself to be happy. You can have pain and still have peace. You can feel craving and still choose clarity. You can long for connection and still stay grounded in your own heart. Relearning love as a mindful practice of freedom and presence. Love can be a sanctuary, or it can be a prison. It depends on how we hold it. Most of us are taught to love through fear, fear of losing, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. So we grip tightly, we chase, we sacrifice our boundaries, we confuse intensity with intimacy, we mistake obsession for love. But true love is not about possession. It's not about being consumed or consuming someone else. It's about presence, clarity, freedom. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, you must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. And that includes you too. You deserve to feel free inside your own heart. The first step to reclaiming love as a mindful practice is to examine what love means to you. Not what the movies say, not what your past partners taught you, what you believe, what you crave, and whether those cravings are rooted in wholeness or in wounds. Ask yourself, do I want love? Or do I want to be saved? Do I seek connection or do I seek escape? Am I loving this person or am I using them to fill something I haven't faced? These questions aren't easy, but they're liberating. Because mindfulness gives you the courage to sit with the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. When we begin to watch how we love, we start to see the difference between clinging and caring, between attachment and affection, between fantasy and real connection. Real love begins with presence, not being physically present while your mind is somewhere else, but being fully here, breathing, listening, noticing the other without needing to fix or control them. This is why mindfulness transforms relationships. Because when you're fully present with yourself, you stop needing others to complete you. You come into love from a place of fullness, not emptiness. You don't give to get. You give because it overflows naturally. Tara Brach often says, when we pause and become present, we step out of the trance of unworthiness. That trance is what drives unhealthy love. It's the voice that says, if they love me, I matter. But mindfulness teaches a different voice, a kinder voice, one that says, I matter. And because I matter, the way I love must come from truth, not fear. Here are 3 ways to practice love mindfully in daily life. Be with yourself the way you wish someone else would love you. Don't wait for someone to show up and offer the tenderness you deny yourself. Run a bath and sit in silence. Place a hand on your heart when you're hurting. Speak to your own pain with compassion, not criticism. Relate without grasping. When you talk to someone you care about, notice your tendencies. Do you listen with openness, or are you waiting to be reassured? Are you present with their words, or secretly scanning for signs they might leave? Let the moment be enough. Let connection flow without needing to control it. Meditate on interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh speaks often of interbeing, that nothing and no one exists independently. We are all connected. The flower is in the garbage, and the garbage is in the flower. Your joy and pain, your love and fear, they are not enemies. They are parts of the same whole. Loving yourself includes loving the scared parts, the lonely parts, the obsessive parts. They are not shameful. They are human. And when you love from wholeness, you attract differently. You choose differently. You no longer tolerate crumbs because you know your worth. You don't chase the unavailable because you no longer need chaos to feel alive. You don't confuse longing with love. You understand that real love feels like peace, not panic. Healing from love addiction is not about avoiding all relationships. It's about building a new relationship with yourself, with love, with life. One rooted in mindfulness, in freedom, in truth. Jack Kornfield said, true love includes a profound honesty that sees ourselves and others as we really are. That kind of love is rare, but it begins within reach, inside you. Real stories of healing. How mindfulness helped them break free from obsessive love. Sometimes the most powerful truths don't come from theories or teachings. They come from lived experience. From real people who've sat in the fire of craving, heartbreak, and obsession and walked through it. This part is for the ones who wonder if it's really possible to change, if the ache will ever fade, if love can ever feel safe again. The answer is yes. And here are some stories that prove it. Elena's story. She was 32 when she realized her entire sense of self was tied to whether someone texted her back. Every morning, the first thing she did was check her phone. If there was a message from him, her day was good. If there wasn't, she spiraled. Her therapist gently told her, this isn't about him. It's about what you're trying not to feel. That's when she found mindfulness. She started with 5 minutes a day, just sitting with her breath. She said at first it felt like torture. Her mind screamed. Her body ached with loneliness. But then something shifted. She began to name her feelings. This is panic. This is fear. This is shame. She noticed how the craving rose and fell like a wave. She stopped texting him just to soothe herself. She started asking, what do I really need right now? That question changed everything. 6 months later, she didn't feel empty waking up alone. She felt grounded. She didn't chase validation. She offered herself kindness. And when she entered a new relationship, it wasn't from fear. It was from clarity. Marcus's story. For Marcus, the pain came after a sudden breakup. His girlfriend left with no warning, and he was left replaying every conversation, every sign he missed. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. He went down a rabbit hole of trying to win her back. Then he listened to a podcast by Jack Kornfield. The phrase that stuck with him was, freedom comes not from getting what you want, but from loving what is. He started meditating every morning, not to feel better, but to be with what was real. The heartbreak, the emptiness, the confusion. He stopped trying to fix it. He started breathing through it. He told me mindfulness didn't make the pain disappear. It made it bearable. And slowly, it transformed the pain into insight. He saw how much he had abandoned himself in the relationship, how much of his identity had been built around being chosen. One day during a walking meditation, he realized, I don't need her back. I need me back. That was the turning point. Jasmine's story. Jasmine struggled with love addiction for years. It wasn't just one person, it was a pattern. Every time she met someone, she lost herself. She became who they wanted. She confused attention with love. And when things ended, she fell apart. She stumbled into a mindfulness group at a local yoga studio, not for love, but for anxiety. But there, sitting in silence, she realized how afraid she was of herself, of her own company, of her own stillness. She began practicing metta, loving kindness meditation every day. At first, it felt fake. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I live with ease. But she kept at it, and something opened. She cried. She laughed. She grieved every time she abandoned herself for the illusion of connection. Now she says, mindfulness didn't just heal me, it reintroduced me to myself. What these stories teach us: healing isn't a straight line. It's messy. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll want to go back. That's normal. But with mindfulness, you're not reacting blindly anymore. You're watching, learning, choosing. Thich Nhat Hanh said, when you love someone, the best thing you can offer is your presence. How can you love if you are not there? That includes offering presence to yourself, to your pain, to your patterns, to your longing. These stories aren't about becoming perfect. They're about becoming present. About remembering that craving doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It just means there's something inside you asking to be seen. When you stop running from that part, when you sit with it, breathe with it, love it, you begin to transform. In the final part, returning to yourself, the freedom beyond craving. You've walked through the fire. You've faced the ache. You've learned to sit with longing, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. And now comes the question you may not even know you've been asking all along. If I'm not chasing them, if I'm not consumed by wanting, what's left? Who am I without the obsession? The answer is both simple and profound. You are here, whole, breathing, alive. This is the moment where mindfulness becomes more than just a practice. It becomes your way of being. Not just to cope, but to live, to love, to be free. Thich Nhat Hanh said, to be loved means to be recognized, to be seen. Mindfulness is the art of seeing yourself clearly, without distortion, without shame, seeing your needs, your patterns, your pain, and still choosing to stay. Still choosing to breathe, still choosing love. But now it's a new kind of love, not one that grasps, not one that clings, not one that begs for scraps. This is a love rooted in awareness, in stability, in spaciousness. It's the kind of love that says, I can want you without needing to lose myself. I can be close to you without disappearing. I can love you and still choose me. That's not selfish. That's sacred. When mindfulness becomes the ground you stand on, you stop reaching outward for worth. You stop mistaking intensity for truth. You stop confusing desire with destiny. You begin to build a different kind of life, one where silence feels nourishing, not empty, where solitude feels safe, not scary, where relationships are conscious, not compulsive. The craving may still come. Of course it will. You are human, but now you meet it with open eyes, with steadiness, with compassion. You remember, this is just a wave. I've been here before. I know how to stay. That knowing, that inner safety, is your freedom. And that's the gift of mindfulness. It doesn't promise you'll never feel pain. It promises you'll never have to abandon yourself again to escape it. So where do you go from here? You keep practicing. You keep pausing. You keep returning again and again to your breath, to your body, to this moment. And when it gets hard, when the old patterns call your name, you don't have to do it alone. That's where the Mindfulness channel is here to support you. We're not just offering teachings. We're creating a space where your healing is honored, where your craving is met with wisdom, not shame, where real tools and guided practices are available to help you ground, reflect, and reconnect. Through guided meditations, interviews with respected teachers, community reflections, and practical talks, you'll find support for every step of your journey. From the wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh to the insights of teachers like Tara Brach, Jack Kornfield, and Sharon Salzberg, to voices just like yours, speaking truthfully about the mess and magic of waking up. Mindfulness is here to walk with you, not to fix you, but to remind you that you were never broken. You are not your craving. You are not your past. You are not your patterns. You are presence. You are awareness. You are already whole. So take a breath, not to escape, but to arrive, here now, with yourself. Welcome home.